This is an infinity scarf. It's made using the similar type of squares to the corner to corner, but it's done infinity style. Goes around the neck, comes down, top becomes the bottom, bottom becomes the top. And it makes a lovely and elegant pattern. And then I did an edging on both, on the one edging one time around. Okay. Excuse me a minute. Okay. What I did was I used regular worsted Red Heart Super Saver. This is the 8-ounce package, and it's real teal. Where's my glasses? This is 364 yards, pardon me, 7-ounce, 364 yards, 333 meters, 198 grams. And they suggest an I hook. I used an H. You can see there's not much left. This is absolutely full when I started. Might have enough there left for a couple small hand warmers on this. Doesn't matter. I love this color. I have a couple more skeins of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm beginning with using a short piece, little swatch to show you everything, and then I come back with this one and I show you the steps as it goes around. Hello, kitty. Cat come back to help me again. So look at the small video, and then when it's done, this big one, I'll come back and start working with this again. So I hope you enjoy this. Let me know any questions you might have, and I'll be glad to answer them. This is not the normal way I make a base chain for this to start this project, but I wanted to make sure that we understood where the bottom was. This is the easiest way to do it without weaving in other colors and stuff. So this is a chain of 42 sets of 6. That's 7 sets of 6. And I replace the loop on my hook with a loop of a different color. So I come down 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to, I'm going to do a single crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So this becomes the first this becomes the first line of the first square, second line, third double, and for the 4th double we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and we're going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain from the hook. So now you can see we have 4 stitches. Okay, then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You're driving me nuts. Excuse me, man. I'm going to get rid of this little guy here. In fact, both these little guys here, because they're kind of making me nuts right now. There. I don't like distractions when I'm trying to think and talk at the same time and crochet. Okay, now my chain 3 has become the first side of my next square. So I'm going to do 2 more double crochets in the next 2 stitches. And I'm going to come up 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go into my 3rd one and slip stitch. And again, I have a square with 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in it. Okay? And 1, 2, 3, double crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in the next stitch, go 1, 2, 3, and go into my third chain and slip stitch. And I'm going to do that to the end. My very last stitch here is my fourth post for my last square. Now, this makes it really easy to see what is the top and what is the bottom. Now, this is the first 4 posts of my first square. If I was going to make a regular round scarf, eternity scarf, whatever you want to call it, I would be connecting my top corner of my last square to the bottom corner of my first square, like that. And that would continue on the pattern of squares. And then I would just slip stitch back up here and go in the other direction. And I would have to change direction every time I went around. But, come here, you can see, okay. I don't want to do that. I want to start working on the bottom. Now, if I turn this once, like this, and I was to butt it up against it, these stitches are still going this way. These stitches are still going this way. That wouldn't work. But if I take and I dip it down so at the bottom of the first square I made is butted up against the side of the last one, that would work. So I'm going to slip stitch to the very bottom of this, like that. And this is the one with the bars going this way. So I have a bar right here that I can go into. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch again into that bar. I'm doing that so I'll have a double connection here. You don't really need to. You could just slip into the bar itself. Chain 3. And then go ahead and do my pattern around. 1, 2, 3 double crochets in each crossbar. You slip stitch into the next crossbar, the next square, like that, and chain 3, and you continue on that way. And 3, and slip stitch. Okay? Now, I'm going to come back around to this side and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I've gone around the entire bottom. This is the point at which I normally slip stitch into the next bar. Get out of my way. I normally slip stitch into the next bar and chain up and keep going. But this is where these 2 corners are supposed to meet. Remember we bent it down? Here's the other place where the other corner where these 2 squares meet, and here's this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the corner, and I'm going to go through 2 stitches. So I'm going to make sure I go through here and here because I want it plenty solid. I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to go through 2 stitches on the bottom corner of this one. Oh, Get out of my way. Slip stitch through all of them. Okay. Now at this point, you have an eternity scarf. You have one bump everywhere. Okay, everybody has one square, one bump. But we need to go in the other direction because we need to start working on these crossbars. So what we're going to do, I just made my slip stitch. And the first time when we started around, we kept going forward. We came up here, we met, we connected, and we went forward. We won't be doing that ever again. Now we reverse it, turn it inside out. We slip stitch once, twice, and the third time into the crossbar. Okay. And then we chain 3, and we start off in our other direction. Just like that. Pain in the butt. Okay. And back into slip stitching into the corner of each crossbar and chaining up 3. And you can see where the bottom is. The bottom is staying in the middle. It's getting buried in the middle because this is a true infinity scarf, not eternity scarf, infinity scarf. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to go around till I come to the other side, and I'm going to show you a problem that we started that is going to be our turning point every time. You can see here I've gone around once, and I'm on the opposite side of where I started. I have to go around again before I can come around to here and start going in the other direction. I'll meet you there. This is the last time I'll be showing you this on this swatch, for the simple reason that I made it too short to get very long without this really getting complicated where it turns. So this is where you come over and do your slip stitch, do your next square, and you can see in front of you you have 2 squares, not 1. So you know this is your last square before turning. Do your chain 3, do your 3 doubles, then you slip stitch into this junction between the 2 squares. I'm going to do this for a minute. Now if you notice at this point, you see where I've slip stitched it, you have even points all the way around. You have no 2 squares. This is how you end one of these eternity scarves. Once you slip stitch into this corner, once you slip stitch into this corner, you're done. It's not like, well, I've got 2 squares, how do I end this thing? That's where you end it. It'll be even on both sides. You can see where the middle is. It's even on both sides, all the way around. 1 point on each side. Just like that. And if you want to turn, this is the second time I'll show you how to turn. You slip stitched it. Forget that I did an extra one to hold my stitch. You turn your work. You do 1 slip stitch, 2 slip stitch, and into the top bar. And the reason why you do that, if you notice, these are all a lot longer than they are tall. And each time you chain 3 and slip stitch, you're bringing this back down into balance. So that's what you want to do. You want to do the same thing with your slip stitch. And then you're ready to go in the opposite direction again. Just like that. And in doing so, you created the double square lineup that you'll be looking for when you've gone around twice and come back. See? By slip stitching up and doing your square on top of it, you've made your next double square point where you know that it's time to turn again. So slip stitch into that and hit off in the back. And if it's the end of your project, if it's as wide and as long as you want it, or as much width as you want, you'll slip stitch there, tie it off, and bury your ends. So there you have an eternity scarf. At this point, it's almost an eternity bracelet, huh? In fact, that would be kind of pretty, wouldn't it? Eternity armband. Make it 5 or 6 squares instead of 7. When it gets to that point, it'll be just stretchy enough to get on. You could put some pretty sequins or something in the, or beads in the top of each of your stitches. Not bad. Or you could use this point here, slip stitch around this and the tops of these and come out and make a hand warmer. Be interesting cuff for one, huh? Okay, back to the big scarf. See you in a while. Okay, I've shown you the structure of how you make one of these. Now I want to talk to you about the length. How do you find how long to make your chain in order to get the scarf to end up with what you want? Now I wanted 4 feet of scarf. This is 4 feet. Believe it or not, it's a full 4 feet. I took my 4 feet, I multiplied times 0.7, and I came up with over 5 feet. I took the inches that I needed, and that's how long I made my chain. Once I made my squares, I ended up with 4 feet. Okay? I'll put the math below. It has to do with finding the hypotenuse of a triangle and then doing some division. For those of you who are interested and want to see how I came out with it, otherwise just take the total length you want, multiply by 0.7, and you'll know how long to make your chain. Now I'm going to go into this one more time, even though I followed it on the little one. You make sure that your whole chain is flattened out. All your little squares are the same. Make sure they didn't twist on any of these junctions. Okay, make sure they're all flat, right side up. That just takes a little extra look. Okay. Now I'm going to bring it closer to you. Okay. Now, as I mentioned in the short, if you had wanted this to be a regular round scarf or eternity scarf, you would connect this top to this bottom corner, and it would just go around and around and around and around. For an infinity scarf, which means it crosses over itself, you need to cross your base piece. And this is how we're going to do it. You flip it once, and if you connect it to the corner now, you can connect it to the corner now, but it causes a lot less confusion if you do it this way, because you will always know where to turn. You come over here. When you put these two together, you have one going this way and one going that way. So instead of having it point to point, you're going to slide this side down so that you have 2 directions here. And you take your piece and you slip stitch right into the corner of your bar, and I'm going actually through the chain of the bar this time for a firmer connection. And so you don't get confused, because it can be confusing, I suggest you go ahead and pull your tail through a couple stitches, just to make sure, loosely, so you can take it out. But so that you know when you come back, this is where you want to be. This is the bottom. Otherwise, if they spread apart, you can get confused and lost. So I would definitely connect the bottom. Use a different color material if you want to, and just put a loop on it. Now, for the very first loop only, for the very first loop, you will go same direction you've been crocheting. So this is the way I was crocheting. This is the last one that I made, and I just slip stitched it onto the first one. Come here, you. And I'm going to crochet 3, 1, I'm chain 3, and I'm going to put 3 double crochets in this crossbar. And double crochets are yarn over through the hole, pull up a loop through 2, pull up a loop through 2, yarn over through the bar, pull up a loop, pull a loop through 2, a loop through 2. Then you want to come up here to your next square, and you want to go right in where the bar is. You don't need to slip it into the chain. You want to go right in where the bar is. Chain 1, 2, 3, and just keep on going. Just like that. Now, even though I showed you in the short, I will come back and I will show you on this piece how I begin the turning corners, turning back and forth. For this first one only, you're going forward. See how these rectangles, these are all rectangles here. They're going to be drawn down into squares because you're drawing them here, and you'll be drawing them in on this side. So all of your inside pieces are going to be squares. The only ones that'll be still rectangle will be your very outside ones. And I have a real nice finish for that makes it look like a beautiful eternity scarf. So I will see you back when I get around. Probably when I get around to the other side here. These things get confusing. Anyway, when I'm back here where I have these 2 squares together, I will be back. Okay, I've come around to the other side. You can see here's where I had the 2 squares together, and I had them attached with the tail here. Now that I'm here, this is where I would normally come up and go into the cross piece. Instead, I'm going to go through this part of the square and get out of my way. The end of the square here. Oops, I want to go through 2. There we go. And slip stitch. Bear with me. Through here. Through here. Slip stitch. Slip stitch. And there we go. Now these 2 are together very well. I don't have to worry about them. Now I turn the work. Now. Okay, now I've turned. Slip stitch once. Slip stitch twice. The 3rd slip stitch is into the bar. Now I'm ready to go back in the other direction. Chain 3, And away we go in the other direction, just like that. But what I have done is I have created a double square again. See that? That'll be my stopping and turning point. Okay, I'll be back. Now, after you've done your first row where you go forward and you start reversing like we did here, you come into the full upper lower. I've gone around once and I'm opposite where I started. I have to go around again to come back to the beginning. So we're on the full infinity scarf mode right now. And that's how it'll go on. See, even now it's starting to look pretty, isn't it? Fully reversible. Okay, I'll be back. I'll go through one more step where I come back to here, and then after that I'm going to fill it out at least 3 on each side, and I'll show you again. Okay, last time with the turning. I've gone around once, twice, come back to my beginning. And here's the 2 squares together. Go into this junction, do a slip stitch, like that. Okay, very firmly attached. Turn the work. And we do 1. I keep moving up there, don't I? 1, 2, and right into the bar, 3 slip stitches. And here we are ready to go in the other direction. And the first square we make in the other direction gives the flap that we'll come back to turn again. 2 squares in a row. You always know when you've completed a complete circuit, and you'll always know when it's time to turn. And here we go. There we go. We started another circuit. We've left the flap for our next. We left the flap for the next stop. I'll go around. I'll come down this side, come around, come back to here, and turn and go the other direction. Okay. Now I'll see you later when I have much more of this done. I got this as wide as I'm going to have it now, except for my trim. I put a nice bright red swatch of color here, so when I went around I could see what I was coming to when I was coming to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to finish this up, and like I said on the little swatch, easiest thing in the world to finish. This will be my very last square. Okay. Now if you don't want to trim, then you would just go in here, slip stitch in this junction, tie it up. And there you have it. Look at how pretty this pattern is. Isn't that interesting? And because you turn every time, both sides are the same. Isn't that pretty? Oops. Let's turn this back. Now, here's what I do for the trim. Okay. Well, this is my bar that I'm going to go into the stitches themselves. Caught the thread. Chain, slip stitch, slip stitch, chain 3, and there we go. See, I knew I messed up when it came to changing squares the other direction. That's not how it went. Because when I get to the end here, I'm supposed to be able to just slip stitch into the top stitch and chain 2, pull up, do 2 pull-ups in each and pull the loop all the way through. I'm going to bring this closer for you and get my thing back here. My cat has been helping me. Okay, so you slip stitch into your top of the 3 stitches here. I'm going to chain 2, wrap, go into my stitch and pull up, wrap, go into my stitch and pull up, pull a loop through all 3, through all of them. A little bit closer. Chevy, move your tail. I'm trying to get over his feet and past his tail. Okay, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, go in, pull up, yarn over, pull through all of them. Just like that. And then you slip stitch, chain 2, and here we go again. Now if you don't want a tall puff stitch, you can do a low one. The low one would be like single crochet height. It'd be like this. Chain 1, just like that. Just like a single crochet. You could try just doing like a crab stitch around it, but I think that would be a little too harsh. This is a nice soft stitch to have around your neck, and that's why I like it. It's a nice soft stitch, and it has a nice look to it. There. See that? It looks like it's finished. This looks like you still got to work on it. But this definitely looks like finished because you have your whole pattern in here and you have this different softer, puffier edge on it. So, I hope you enjoyed making this. Anyone you make this for is going to love it. It is so pretty. It's even prettier in person than it is on film. So, there you have it. Beautiful infinity scarf. It's around here, on the back of your neck. Comes down here, folds over. It's warm, it's pretty, it's classy looking. Enjoy yourself, guys. Happy crocheting.